Yeah, they're right here on my desk. They are a bit disappointing, but I will tell you exactly why. So, yesterday's, I would say, ambush of the media, which was, let's just say, taken out of proportion a bit, in my opinion, was a lot of outrage given that outrage directed at us, the media, influencer, journalists, that, made it seem like we had all of the security secrets of the country regarding these files. But then, B, once the files were in fact released, and I went on my X live stream and went page by page showing everyone's name, how disappointing they were. But looking in hindsight, which is always 2020, I see exactly what the purpose of this whole charade was. This exact binder is what Pam Bondi received on her desk when she requested for the Epstein files from the FBI. This is a disgrace. The fact that the Attorney General asked you for all of the files with nothing concealed and you gave her this, you should be ashamed of yourself. Now, what happened then was that the whistleblower reached out to Pam Bondi from the SDNY, saying that in the New York FBI bureau, there were tons of documents that were left unreleased. Now, this has been sat on for years by corrupt FBI agents. So Pam Bondi gave Kash Patel 3 weeks, from what I heard, to get all the remaining files and not to play her for a fool. So she means game. Now, why everyone's so mad at us for being the messengers, I'm not sure. I think it's a bit of jealousy, if I'm being honest. I think the reason for the delay is that a lot of people in the political level are guilty of whatever happened in Epstein's Island because having your name on the list does not make you guilty. The Kennedys are on this list. The Trumps are on this list. Being on his plane does not incriminate you. So, what people don't understand is if you're showing I'm withholding something, immediately, whether you are guilty or not, you look guilty. And not only do you look guilty, you're complicit. Because if you're protecting pedophiles and criminals, you are in fact complicit. Now, one thing that everyone's like, well, Trump is on the list. Well, guess what? Trump is one of the few people on this list that spoke to attorneys and were outing Jeffrey Epstein, not trying to protect him by withholding FBI files. Now, of course, like the normal person would think, given that the Biden administration withheld it, you imagine that it's people in his administration that want it withheld. You can come up to your own conclusion as to why. Um, Now, my concern is that even if we get these files, given that they were under corrupt FBI agents for years, my worry is that they wiped out the things we need to know. Now, I don't know that. I'm not Kash Patel, but I do trust that he will get to the bottom of it. You know, so it's not that they were incriminated necessarily, but if you go to the very end, it's not just names, it is institutions and airlines and hotels. And I'm like, I eat here. And, I'm not exactly sure what they mean, but I'll give you a few. Mr. Chow. What business do you have with Jeffrey Epstein? Maybe he just ate in Mr. Chow. I don't have the answers to it. I found it interesting that all the masseuses were blacked out. I thought that was a bit bizarre. Like, you're a witness, you're a witness. And then here's what I found. It says important email addresses. I'll take up this page. Whoever deemed it important must know what they're talking about. So it says here, obviously, Maxwell, Epstein, Tim Newcomb, Charlie Palmer, Joe Pagano, Mr. Barak Ehud, the former prime minister of Israel, David Copperhod, a magician. Okay. Can he magically make the files disappear? Who knows? David Cook, Ava Anderson. That's a model. So, there's a lot of questions left to be answered. Okay, if these are important, why are they important? Because right now I'm just reading a list of names and I don't have any context to it. But I will remind everyone, it says it very clearly on the cover. This is only phase one. And I trust that the attorney general and FBI director are not giving, independent journalists all the Epstein files without thoroughly, going through it. And there's one more point I want to tackle. There was a lot of outrage expressed towards myself, towards my colleagues who came to the White House. And on one hand, I understand their perspective to a certain degree. And a lot of the, journalists who came out parading the Epstein files, they were definitely misunderstood in a way that I know them personally. And I can tell you, they're not celebrating, haha, we have the files and you don't. When we received these binders, we thought we'd have all the answers in here. And we were happy that justice would be served. Now, I was not photographed, parading the binders, but I will speak on behalf of them when I tell you that wasn't their intention. But what Trump did so beautifully yesterday was he promised in his campaign that he would empower independent journalists. He mentioned yesterday in the meeting, not Donald Trump, but someone else mentioned that they even want to get like Breitbart in the press secretary room. They want to start getting independent journalists that have so many clicks that really deserve their spot and their seat there, that they worked for a proper position. Now, when he empowers independent journalists like myself and like everyone who else was in the White House, why did it cause so much outrage? You know, you can take that as you will. I personally, like I said, I think it was a lot of FOMO on people that weren't there. I think a lot of people are very deserving of being there. What they didn't know was that they said they were going to do these more often with more people, but everyone that expressed their outrage, I can guarantee you, are not making the list the next time. Because of the whistleblower admitting that they have files in the New York Bureau that are being withheld, I'm assuming they still have it if the whistleblower made that call to Pam Bondi. Now, from what I understood is that she gave Cash 3 weeks to get to the bottom of it. Now that we have a non-corrupt FBI director, and we did drain the swamp of the corrupt FBI agents for the most part, you can't catch all the bad eggs, unfortunately. I trust that in the near future, when I say near future, I'm hoping within a week, but let's say it takes 3 weeks, we'll get phase 2, which well, let's just say answer the questions. There's a lot of names. Why are the names that I listed important? Why are these institutions involved? Were these institutions complicit in sex trafficking? Were they, safe harbors for Epstein to do his crimes? We don't know, but I'm assuming phase 2 will provide the answers to that. What happens is nobody wants to get in trouble and nobody wants to go down alone. So when you get that one person talking, there was a lot of celebrities on this list. I don't think these celebrities want to throw their careers to the garbage. Now, whether they engaged in criminal activity or whether they were a witness at this point, I don't know. But you'll see that people are going to definitely talk to save themselves. And there's no loyalty when it comes to investigations. Everyone's going to snitch on one another. And I think given the profiles of these people and who they are, they're going to talk very quick. I don't imagine that folks such as Prince Andrew or any of the royal family or any of the politicians, besides the Biden administrations, because they withheld it, so I'm very skeptical of them, would be ignorant enough to engage in these activities because not only are you doing it, but there are so many witnesses. Now, I know to a certain degree, if you're a politician or if you're part of the royal family, you have some sort of a training. You have a reputation, a legacy to carry, and I don't know if they'd be willing to throw it away over sick, disgusting fetishes that these people clearly had. I'd be very surprised if we find any of the royal family members actually guilty. But given the weight of the crimes, even if they were a witness, in my eyes, you're guilty too. It says here, description, one cell phone containing a DVD containing images and files. Um, three 3 to 6 tape cartridges containing a backup of all digital evidence, 2 cartridges containing backup of all evidence with different dates, like there's different dates for these. 1 pair of a woman's underwears, cow boots, shoes, 1 framed photo, 1 highly confidential material including nudity, images and videos. This goes really on and on. Trip logs, more nude photos, more nude videos, boat logs, employee lists, passwords, digital voice recordings, photographs, employee contact list. They have multiple cameras, photos, images, handwritten letters, blueprints, island photos. Yeah, it's clear there's a lot of videos that Pam Bondi wanted to receive and didn't. If it's listed that they have it, why not hand it over? Unless you're on it and you don't want to. I think it's very convenient that he happened to kill himself before speaking. Um, would I be surprised if it wasn't suicide? Absolutely not. We know how this game works. But as to how they could possibly prove it, that's a tough question. That's a tough question. And I think if we get more answers as to who was involved, it would be more clear as to who would want him killed and who has the means to get him killed.